Alright, this is going to be a review of the Starlight-12 Poseidon. I'm not going to make this too long a review, and you'll see why, but we're just going to get straight into it. So here I do have a small ultralight 2 size. There is also a medium size, small mouse size comparison with G Pro Superlight. Small mouse. Now we're going to get into the unboxing. So in the box, you get the extender and the cable. The cable is thick, but you don't ever really need to charge this mouse, so it doesn't really matter, and it is micro USB. Here's the box. This is obviously water themed. And this is the last mouse in the Gods theme for the Starlight. So whatever Starlights come out next are not going to have these engravings. They're not going to be Gods themes. They're going to be a whole different theme. It's like baby blue lettering. Yeah, you can see that. For some reason, my camera autofocus is going crazy. And the box is nice. I like the box, but I don't think it's as good as the Phantom one. The Phantom one was a nice box, but getting into it, these specs are basically the same. 3370 sensor, Kale 8.0s, and they do use a new scroll click encoder, but the scroll encoder is different, and we will get into that in a second. Now, the reason why a lot of people are intrigued with the Poseidon is because there were claims that the tilted scroll wheel is fixed, and the firmware. So they have firmware that you need to update to fix the click latency, because the click latency used to be really bad. There were claims that the Poseidon works better and than the other mice, like the Phantom and Pegasus and the God's mice and all that. Everything Poseidon and up will feel better and work better with the firmware. We'll also get into that. So another thing is, once they release it, basically with the Poseidon, this is just a cool little side fact. If you scan the QR code on your mouse, you can see how your mouse is being made, but you shouldn't buy it for that reason. It's just a cool little thing, I guess. But yeah, so getting into the actual mouse itself, obviously it is blue, and the color is not the same as it is on camera. It's more shiny. It's a very shiny mouse. It's like it reflects off everything. And the coating is different from the Phantom. The coating is chalkier, and the Phantom got really cold for some reason. This doesn't. It never really gets cold. It actually gets kind of warm, and it's chalky. The Phantom was super slippery and got really cold. So I don't know the difference there. But yeah, the scroll wheel is also now blue instead of white. The little rubber piece used to be white. If you want to make your scroll wheel feel better, you can change the scroll wheel actually to the Viper Mini scroll wheel, and it fits perfectly. I would do that because, yeah, well, I will get into the scroll wheel. But we're going to get into a sound test now. And as I said, 3370, I don't even know if I said it yet, 3370, normal specs, 3370, 44 grams, for small, all that normal stuff. But let's get into a sound test. Right and left click and all the buttons. Alright, so right and left click are fine. I don't think it's I feel like it doesn't really mix well with the magnesium. I'm not a super big fan of the 8.0s. I do have some pre-travel on both mine and a little bit of post-travel, but they feel like fine. There's no real wobble concerns. There's a little bit on my left click, but nothing bad. I just feel like 8.0s and magnesium aren't really like the best match. They are really loud, and my right click on every single Starlight I've had has been lighter. I don't know why, but it's just how it is. My right click, I've heard it from other people too. Their right click has always been lighter. I don't know if that's like a thing or not, but yeah. So the side buttons, I actually opened the mouse. That's why I have dot feet on it. The stock feet are fine. We'll just get that out of the way first. You don't really need to change them. And I secured the side buttons better. So my side buttons were really loose and kind of wobbly. So what you do is the side button is a little kind of like a little piece. It just fits into the side, like it comes out. And if you open it, what I'm talking about. On the sides, you put a little piece of aluminum tape, and you put it back in its slot and it holds it in better. It reduces a lot of the wobble side to side, so it feels way better. You can also put it on the back of the side button insert, and it reduces a lot of post and pre-travel if you have any of that. Makes it feel 10 times better. Now the scroll wheel, I have a lot of creaking on my scroll wheel. I'll probably end up changing it anyway. A ton of creaking on my scroll wheel. And it is a little bit crooked, but not bad. It's definitely getting better. The crooked scroll wheel is definitely getting better. But it is pretty crooked actually now that I'm looking at it, but it doesn't really bother me. It's not like it's scraping into the sidewalls or anything like that. The scroll click is also heavier than it was before. It feels fine, but my mouse just creaks whenever I press the scroll wheel down, so it's not a very enjoyable experience. But you can hear it. I get a lot of creaking on my scroll wheel. And the ghost scrolls are still there. That's not a scroll wheel. It's a mixture of code issue and how sensitive the scroll wheel is. Like, just, it's still there. Let me just tell you that. I did lube the scroll wheel, and it still just feels horrible. It's just a bad encoder. A really bad encoder. And just going back to the clicks for a second, if you weren't curious, you can feel the engravings. It's never personally messed me up in game, but yeah, there is also no click issues. Like nothing is smacking into the bottom of the click or anything. No creaking on the sides or anything. No creaking on the bottom. So we're gonna get into the firmware now. Let me just say this in the best way that I can. I didn't feel any difference. Like going from the old firmware to the new firmware, you do feel a major difference. But going from the Phantom on the new firmware to the Poseidon on the new firmware, I couldn't feel a difference. Maybe in the future mice, it'll feel better, but honestly, they both felt about the same. It's still not the best click latency ever. There are mice that still have better click latency even after the firmware update, but it is definitely an improvement. And now that I'm actually feeling the sides of my mouse, there is some flex on the sides. I didn't actually notice that, but there is some flex. But it doesn't, whatever. You can probably even hear it. You probably can't actually, but it is there. Also, the DPI button is lighter. So the DPI button on the Phantom, I'm getting a little bit off track, but the Phantom DPI button was super heavy. This is going back to the original DPI on the God's Mice. It's a very light DPI button. Doesn't really matter. 400, 800, 1600, 3200 are DPI steps. But yeah, you don't feel difference on new firmware from Phantom to Poseidon. So really what I would tell you is if you're going to mod it anyway, which you probably should to begin with, just get whatever colorway you like and upgrade the firmware. That's how I see it. Personally, I like the Poseidon colorway, so I chose the Poseidon over the Phantom, but just choose whatever colorway you like the best, really. Like, there's no... just choose whatever one you like the best. It's really just a colorway thing. But that's gonna be in this video. There's not much to talk about. Like, I probably rambled about random stuff for forever. But if you made it to the end of this video, like and sub, use my links in the description. And I'm kind of getting bored about talking about Finalmouse stuff, so there will be some new stuff soon. And that's gonna do this video. Peace.